breeze picked up a little bit. I don't have a lot of practice getting SE'd,
Yeah.
so this ought to be fun.
We this morning we began a claim, and I guess I, I think what we decided on. It could be wrong about this, but it said should family get a pass, and on was there something specific to add on being getting away with something that you won't allow someone else to get away with, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think we were talking about my idea about should we give family members a pass uh, simply on the fact that they're family.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought about it a little bit more, and it's kind of a normative claim
Hmm.
or like a should claim, which is a little bit more difficult, I think, to discuss. And what I normally do in that situation is try to figure out a truth claim that is supporting that normative claim. And so, like, the reason that that would be meaningful to me is because of a kind of a more meta or deeper issue that I sometimes face, and that is sh- um, should we treat people differently based on something that they can't control?
Yeah.
And that's also a normative claim, but so I would form that claim into, um, in many cases, treating someone differently based on something that they can't control is harmful.
Okay. Okay.
So that would be kind of a truth claim that I would associate, which is what's informing my opinion on giving somebody a pass just because they're family. Like, um, should we work to reduce a prison sentence
Hmm.
with a family member if they committed the same crime that somebody that is not our family also committed?
Right.
I think there's an idea about evolution saying that uh, it's like a tribal thing.
Hmm.
People that look more like us, we tend to favor more or treat better.
Yeah.
And I think that that's harmful because you have no control over who you're born to, which family you're born to. And so I don't think that the treatment should be based in a lot of cases, in most cases maybe I'll say, based on something that you can't control.
Yeah.
And it be more of a merit based system.
Okay. So I'll say merit is better. That's ideal, I guess.
Yeah, in an ideal world, we would all treat each other equally,
Hmm.
um, and then based on merit or behavior rather than what family they're born into, including our own.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Um. So, all right. So let me. What so we'll see if this one makes any sense. But what if well, like, what about something like adoption, where you're not like the student or the child being adopted? Um, uh, that in that case, maybe I don't know if the child has some control over that, or but yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's
I can say something about that.
okay.
Uh, I think in a lot of cases, adopted children are not treated as well as blood children, and
Okay.
that would be another case of I think that that's harmful
Yeah.
because they don't have. It wasn't up to them in a lot of cases which family they go to, and so treating them differently because they're adopted is another example of how this can be harmful, versus someone that is a blood birth or child.
Okay.
So that'd be another example of how my conclusion can be supported.
Okay. So, should I ask your confidence on that? Would that be a good time to ask it
Sure.
now, or
So the claim is
uh, or on
treating someone differently based on something they cannot control is harmful. That's the claim, and I'm pretty high about that. I'd probably say high 60s, like 66.
Okay, 66. Certain. Okay. All right. Okay, let's think about that. So, whether they are restraining people. Yeah. So I guess probably the other big thing, the big theme I thought of is randomness. I guess I think you mentioned randomness too. So it's the it's not you're born into this family. They're not, maybe they don't necessarily have the best advice. It might not be a group that you flourish in. Yeah. So, but a lot of people, there's many groups of people that will say that, like family is the most important thing, and yet it's random. So does that seem like a little bit of confliction there?
Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with that opinion. That there's not a lot of things that come above family in importance, right? I think Vince Lombardi said God, family, and the Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess I would say that I don't agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that can be harmful if you're putting your family above doing harm or being compassionate or being empathetic. If being loyal to your family causes you to harm someone else, that's an example of how that opinion can be harmful.
Causes harm is bad. Okay. So, let's see what else I got here. Okay, we talked about randomness. Are you saying that family has little importance compared to relationships you choose in most cases?
Am I saying that family? Sorry, can you repeat that?
Are you saying that family has little importance compared to relationships you choose in most cases?
Little importance. That's kind of a subjective term.
Mm-hmm.
I guess in my mind, I would hope that family being the only criteria on how you're going to treat someone, I think that can be harmful.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that it has little importance compared to other relationships. It kind of goes to the idea of you can, like, your friends are the family you choose.
Your friends,
right?
Your friends are the family. Okay.
Like, you have a choice in who you're friends with.
Yeah.
So it's like the family that you get to choose.
Yeah.
And I think that in a lot of cases, that family, your um, your circle of friends, your community, um, that I think can be way more important than your blood family.
Mhm. Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was good. Um, and then, okay. Okay, so. So maybe I'll go over that list to,
And just to clarify,
yeah.
this kind of talks about the deeper issue. Like, we shouldn't treat people differently based on their skin tone,
Right.
because it's something that they have no control over. So if you treat somebody differently because of that, I think that can be very harmful. And so that kind of generalizes the idea that I've got.
Yeah. Let's see that. Okay. So I guess that's probably where I'm trying to think of another thing. So I've got a.
Main reason, what would raise or lower my confidence? Could we test it? Do we have ways to tell if it's not true?
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder about that last one. So how could I ask something that would say how that ways to, I guess, falsify it? Would that be the question or the term?
A way to tell that this claim is not true. I think one way to tell is by, like, psychological evaluation. You know, psychotherapy can maybe shed light on the reasons people are harmed,
Mm-hmm.
and that in ways that affects their behavior later on in life, like as an adult. You can go back to whenever they were kids,
Mm-hmm.
and if they were treated differently because they were adopted, or some other way that they had no control over, that would be one way of telling if this claim was not true. If we had a mountain of research,
Yeah.
psychological research on people that showed that this was not true, then that'd be one way of going about it, and that would lower my confidence in it.
Yeah.
Um, if I had access to the this mountain of research.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, so I mean, people are. I mean that's just kind of the way people are. It's born into these families. So, do you have a suggestion for? I mean, are you thinking like they should be in other organizations more, spread around other people, and trying to putting more emphasis on trying to find that right person who, like a child or connects with? Is that what you're thinking? What is your goal? What is your what do you think the solution is?
The solution?
Yeah.
The solution would be to take the factor of family out of it.
Okay. So,
Base it more on behavior or things that we do have control over. And that's kind of a nifty thing too, because I'm not really convinced that we have a whole lot of choice in anything that we do. I'm kind of kicking that around too. Like, I'm convinced that we have a lot less choice and free will than we think we do.
Okay.
So if we took the aspect of family out of the decisions on how we treat people, I think that would be a solution.
Okay. Take. So just repeat the last line was, if we take. I'm sorry. Just could you repeat that last line?
Yeah, if we take the aspect of family out of the decisions that we make that help us decide how we treat someone, I think that would be a solution.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So. Okay. And you're still at 66% certain. And so I guess the other thing I should ask is, well, that means you have about 1/3 of uncertainty there. So maybe we look into that.
Yeah.
So why is it 1/3?
Well, the way I do my scale is, I think 66% is really high on how I view the scale. It may not be that high on somebody else's scale. I guess I'd like to see myself as having a lot of room to move, needing, basing the quality of the reasons that I have this or a higher confidence on reasons that warrant that. And so where I start is I start at 0 if I'm not aware of an idea. Once I become aware of an idea or a claim that I can assign confidence to, then I would start at 1 if I had no reasons, because I don't want to be closed-minded to the fact that I would have 0% confidence on anything. Like I want to assign a 1 if I had no reasons to go off of it, other than being aware of it. So that'd be the only reason. That would bring me up to 1. And then I'm not going to raise my confidence until I have enough reasons to warrant rising it up. So there's this idea out there where, if you want to be neutral, you would start at 50. Like people say, well, I'm 50-50 about it, so I could go either way. I'm not sure I agree with that, because I would need good reasons enough to get me to 50 in the first place. So if I have no knowledge of any idea other than the fact that I'm aware of it now, I would be at 1, and I would need reasons to climb up the scale. So 66, that's 66 units on my scale, where on somebody else's scale it might be 16 units if they're starting at 50. So that would probably be my best reason for giving that number. 2/3.
Okay.
I kind of put my confidence in thirds and halves.
Okay.
Like if I'm not really that confident in something, I'd probably say like 33 or 50 or 66, and use that kind of as a framework of where I would start, and then the reasons beyond that could make me go up or down from there.
Okay. Well, knowing that, well, maybe I should. I'll bring up a point that might lead to doubt, or to maybe kind of move on that scale, possibly, and I'll just I'll run it past you, I guess, and we'll see what.
You gonna give me a counter argument?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that word correctly to?
Sure.
Okay, great. So, I had a best friend that was kind of in my neighborhood, and they were I think they were Taiwanese maybe, or one of the Asian countries, and I think the reason that this family was um, or the kids, I should say, the kids were adopted because I think they were going through hardships in the country that they came from, and what I knew of the parents, they seemed to have taken them out of that situation that was, their birth parents just. Well, I don't know if it was a problem with the birth parents or the problem with the country, some cultural issue. So I guess I kind of wonder what your thoughts are on that. Does that sway your confidence level any, or do you have any other thoughts maybe to add to that?
This is another example of adoption.
Yeah. So it was so these were parents that I considered to be. I hung out at his house a lot. We'd go over and did I miss?
Sorry.
Okay, cool. We'd go over and play video games overnight, and kind of a lot of fond memories of hanging out with him. And so I would call these, my view of it at least was, as a teen, these were, like loving parents that took them out of what I understood as a bad situation. Anybody didn't completely understand it, but so is that okay? Sorry, I have to form this into a better question. So to me that would seem like kind of like a good thing to be. Well, I guess what I'm actually saying is that they were presumably brought into this better society through this well, in some ways it's kind of like what you said before. It's this artificial, like, friends or the family that you make. It's like, well, they maybe had a little more choice in, possibly, do you want to be in this really bad situation, or do you want to come to this country where parents that have been, they check their background, and they've tested that these parents are good people, and so do you have any thoughts on that, or does it sway anything? Or
I think what you're asking is taking a kid out of a potentially harmful situation based on the kid not having any control of which family they're born in. Would that be an example of when treating somebody differently based on something they can't control could be beneficial? Is that kind of where you're going with that?
I think that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah, I think that could happen with any kid, though. Like taking them out of a harmful family from down the street.
Okay.
I don't think it would be necessarily based on. So, I guess I'm not understanding your question completely, because now I'm kind of going into based on their nationality, or based on, and I think that could happen with any nationality. Like taking someone out of a harmful family in Norway,
mm-hmm.
I think that would be beneficial too.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm not tracking the.
Yeah. Well, it may not be a good question. I guess I'm just trying to. I'm trying to think of ways that would kind of move the scale, or even more confident for that matter. That's just where I was trying to do.
Yeah. And I think I'd go back to the. What would raise my confidence would be access to a mountain of research that demonstrates the harm that is caused by people treating others based on something they can't control. So what would lower and what would raise my confidence would be the same method, but depending on what the evidence pointed to.
Okay. Yeah. So. I don't know if I have any. Not sure if I can think of a lot of things to add right off on the spot. Do you think there's a question I should have asked or something maybe?
You could ask. You could ask if I have any questions for you.
Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, so your example of your friend that was adopted so that it could be in a more or in a less harmful situation. I guess I'm curious as to why that would be a counterexample. Or a counter argument to my claim.
Yeah. Well, it might not be. Yeah, it probably isn't. Yeah. So.
Okay. Cool.
It's probably. I guess that's probably about all I can think of. Unless, does you have anything to add? If not, then I guess that's probably.
Do you have any questions, Veronica? You have any questions?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Well, I guess we're done.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
That was good.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Nice work.
Thank you for the interview.
Yeah, for sure. Oh.